All right, guys, we're back down here on the basement job, and it is a wall stacking day. All right, guys, we're finally getting started rolling down here, and I didn't cover this real well last time on how we do it, but one thing I want to show you about these nudura forms that are pretty slick is they come shipped folded up like that, and old Captain Kleeman hand model folds it out. I think you missed your calling on QVC. And those webs slide down in there like so. Oh yeah, looking good. Yep, there it is. And 8-inch webs, or 8-inch blocks have that web going this way. 6-inch don't have that. I'll snap that on there. And the main block, they all come together. They're just basically pins. See how they just fold up like that? Some people don't like these blocks because they got a metal pin right there, and if you got to rip them, they're kind of a pain in the butt. And they are, but I still like them. They're just, I can pack 3 of these over my shoulder, go where I need to. It's awesome. But, so, basically this wall here is done. So we started in that corner and started in this corner. We worked to the middle. We got a splice right there. We got our length. So we got 2 courses. We're doing the same on this wall. Start on this corner, come to the middle. He's starting there, coming back. Kleeman's getting ready to double check our measurement with the tape measure. We do have the pins in the footer. They give us a pretty good reference. And then, yeah, that's right, Jason. Just on, like on the last basement, once we get 2 courses up, then we'll square and foam everything down. So we're gonna get these 2 courses up, get rebar in, and then foam her down. Are we even close?
Yeah, we're close. See? Yeah, we just got a bunch down.
Half inch. All right. All right, guys, we end up getting 3 courses up. These guys are rocking out this morning. I'm having a hard time keeping up with my rebar cutting duties and everything else, more or less filming. 60 foot 4. But that's literally about 45 minutes worth of work you see right there. I mean, they're just cruising on along. We got an awesome crew this morning. Basically all we're doing right, yeah, I'm stuck on that piece of rebar. Basically what we're doing right now is just making sure she's squared up, double checking all of our wall lengths. Hey, nice seeing you down here.
Hey!
And then once we get her good, we'll string her and foam her down. I got the tape measure all tangled up and everything at the bottom of the hole. There, it's coming. I can't go any higher. All right, head to that corner back here behind you. Nope, other one, Jason. Good. 60 foot 3, we're close. We got to tweak her just a little bit. Alrighty, guys, we got her squared up. We were like a ½ inch off. We were really close. Little footwork, little kick it around. We're in good shape. We got our fancy pink string stretched down here. Basically, we're going through. There's a creeper on the other side of the wall. It's like home improvement. You're like Wilson. You know the only difference between you and Wilson?
He knows stuff.
He actually had something intelligent to say. But we're getting her perfectly straight on that string. I know some guys make chalk lines. There's 100 different ways to do it. This just works well for us, especially if you got a muddy footer. And it gives you the flexibility to tweak and move a little bit if you need to. But this is a wall that has not been straightened. This is a wall that has been straightened. So there's an obvious difference. But yeah, that's the process. All right, we got our foam down here. We're gonna do the same thing down that other basement. We're gonna go ahead and put that 4th course up before we put braces up, so we can truck on around there. But everything is looking pretty good. We get a little farther along here, I'll kind of explain what's going on here a little better. I think it'll make more sense as we start getting some of this here built in. So Jason needs foam. Foam. Where's it at? Oh, see it. We're still using this great stuff foam. I know a lot of you guys commented on my last video and agreed with me. It's not the best stuff, but we had some in stock, so we're gonna burn it up. And yeah, there's about any other type of foam is better than the great stuff, I believe. But I got it. I'm gonna use it. It's non-returnable, so get this 4th course on and start in on braces. Alrighty guys, there she is with the 4th course up. We're gonna start laying out where we're gonna put our braces at. So this is the end of the wall here. This is actually gonna get capped off. So I don't want to put a brace right here because I don't have room for my strapping. So I'm gonna come back and start there, and it basically goes every 6 feet, which is every 9 studs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, boom. So here's the corner. So before I start down this wall, I gotta come out 1, 2, 3, 4 studs, because when the arm folds down on this one, it's got to miss this stud. So now that I'm here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think you guys get the picture. And around we go. Alright guys, I don't have the excavator to sit the brace rack down in the basement this time, but that's okay. Don't really need it because we got a walkout, so we're just going to take a skid steer, put it up here close so we can start pulling braces off of it and get them installed. Good? Down she goes. That is the block we've been looking for. That's the last one there, Jason. All right, from here we got a little bit of rebar. We got some blocking to do. Gotta get the walls straight, and we gotta get beam pockets in. But it's not too shabby, looking pretty good. The wall's looking good. Help, I'm not for sure about. All right, guys, there it is. There's about 4.5, 5 hours work with 3 guys. We've been kind of getting sidetracked on the driveway up there today with rock trucks coming and going, but I'll give you a little explanation of a few things here. So basically this is going to be a walkout basement. There, the floor will come around, get poured across the top of this, and it'll be insulated here some way with a thermal break, and then they're going to frame this wall from here to here because this is out. So since this is a walkout, we got to drop that footer to get down below frost level. That's what we call it, a frost footer or a frost wall. So that's what we have right there, if you guys can see. Everybody does a little different. I'd prefer just to pour the wall straight on through. Some people want to do this. It's whatever the customer, the builder wants, that's what we'll do. There's no really need to argue about it. But other than that, it's pretty much your standard same old, same old, same old. Now I have had a bunch of people ask me about this kind of ICF in general and my thoughts on it and stuff. And guys, I am an absolute huge fan of ICF. Hopefully you can still see me over here in the shade. This is what I started my business on 12, 13 years ago. And there was just a couple things about it that really drew me to it. One was the absolute simplicity of it. It's just so simple. Everything about it makes perfect sense. I don't know, it was just crazy. It just blew my mind that more people hadn't caught on to it. But there's a lot of advantages to it. With this type of forming system, after the wall's poured, the foam stays in place. It's now your home installation. The plastic studs right here, which is what the webbing's in, I don't know if I can dig that back. There's actually a stud right there, and that's actually your wall studding. You can screw your cabinets to that, you can screw your drywall to that. On the outside you can nail your sheeting to it. And unlike a conventional house, you actually have one every 8 inches instead of every 16 inches. So you got twice as many studs. You have no thermal bridges from inside to outside, so it just makes it extremely energy efficient. The day-to-day advantage of it is obviously the energy efficiency of it. To give you a quick example, my house is about 1,500 square foot. I actually built a ICF house all the way around my house. I got about 4,000 square feet now. My energy bill went down. I pay less now for heating and cooling than what I did before with a house half the size. That's how big a difference it can make. And I know you can build other methods of energy efficiency. I get that, but where ICF is superior to all those methods, in my opinion, is the strength. For a basement wall standpoint, the ICF form provides an ideal curing environment for concrete. So your concrete tends to cure and get tremendously harder than it would in another instance, in another situation. I'm not going to go into all the science of it or speak numbers or anything. You guys can ask Google about all that. But that's one of the huge advantages. And I went back and drilled through ICF walls years later after we have poured them, and they are hard. There is no different. No denying the fact that the concrete in that wall is tremendously harder than conventional concrete. Where I think ICF really shines, and I've got one video on this, it's an older video, you have to go back and look, is whenever you get above grade. This house here is going to be wood frame from here on up, just a conventional floor system, and stick frame from here on up. We built over 70 houses with ICF from the footer all the way to the rafters. We pour steel plates in the top, attach the rafters. Just the strength you gain out of that system is unbelievable, and the quality of living in them, I don't know how to describe it unless you lived in one. It is just different. You don't have the climate swings, you don't have the temperature change, you don't have the humidity swings, you don't hear the sound, you don't hear the wind blow. It's just a huge difference. So everybody's different. In our area, it cost 15% more to build this way. My theory is you save it on energy savings, and you'd rather save it there than on your mortgage. Everybody looks at it a little bit different, but if you guys are thinking about building a new home, do a little bit of research, look into it. You know, you always got your typical arguments of, well, if your house is catching on fire, you got all this toxic stuff burning. Well, first off, the foam's fire retardant. Second, yeah, the plastic studs can burn, but I'll be willing to bet my business that something else toxic in your house is going to burn before it ever gets to that stud in the wall. And on top of that, there's still concrete in there. I guarantee you the wall ain't going to collapse. I mean, at least you know you got something there that's going to withstand the fire. A conventional wall, it's going to burn and turn into ashes, and you ain't got nothing left. So, Captain Kleeman, he's a firefighter. We've talked about this a lot. Usually they're so airtight, the fire don't spread as fast. They feel more confident going in and doing some things. You know, everybody's got different opinions on them. You hear the mice like the foam, the bugs like the foam, the termites like the foam. I've never seen a termite with diamond teeth eat concrete. I don't know. It just seems to be something people just blow out to hold it off. But I mean, there's pros and cons to everything. I just think there's a lot more pros to ICF than there is cons. Like I said, we have poured a lot of it, and we've got a lot of really happy customers with some real low energy bills. I've yet to have a house hit by a tornado. I kind of secretly want it to happen just to see what would happen, but I also hope it don't happen to anybody. But that's just kind of my 2 cents on it. It's just whether you use Nudura, Fox Block, Integra Spec, Logic, Superform. I mean, there's all kinds of them. QuadTech. The concept of ICF in general is a great one, so I'm not going to take that away from it. I do like my Nudura forms. We've used a bunch of different ones. These Nudura forms seem to be the most universal. There's just a lot of things I liked about them. I think you guys caught that in the last video. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions or want me to cover on anything else, just drop a comment down below, and I'll try to elaborate on that at some point. Alrighty guys, we're getting her wrapped up and we're getting pretty close to being ready for concrete. These are 8-inch walls, so I end up having some, instead of ripping down a 2x10, I had some leftover former drain that fit in there really nicely as far as blocking that off. Hoping with the right slope of concrete we won't have to worry about that pushing too much, but that's always a little bit of a gamble there. There's the brick ledge. I think you guys seen that on the last one. Basically got it blocked off right on the ends. You got all of our rebar in there. That piece of rebar there goes back and ties into the rebar back in the wall. That is brick ledge, but it's the same as the other house. It's not technically brick ledge. It's just there for to support the garage floor. The garage floor will come over and sit on that there. We got our stiff backs on, which just makes it a lot nicer to get the wall straightened up. I don't know if you guys can see down through there, but we also got that wall bowed in a little bit there. Let me go down the hole, and I think I can explain that a little bit better from down there. All right, so the easiest way I know to explain this is these braces are screwed to the wall. We got about 2 screws in every course. This is number 10 hex head screw. Then it's stuck to the ground, and I think I showed you guys already, but I'll show you again. We basically got these stakes I've built over the years. They're basically 5/8 rebar with a washer. That's about all they are, but that's what we use to stake them in the ground. Different basements have different ground conditions. Sometimes they work really good, sometimes they don't. But the way this brace is built is it'll push. You can push on this wall extremely hard. And with that stake stuck in the ground and you're not putting any pressure on your screws, you're pushing on that wall real hard. If you have to go pull on this wall to pull it back in this way, it gets extremely difficult. You start pulling screws, you start pulling plastic studs, you start pulling stakes out of the ground. It quickly becomes an interesting event. So basically what we do is it's really easy to control the wall if the wall is laying back on the braces and we just push it back out. If the wall starts leaning out, it's not near as easy. It becomes pretty ugly sometimes. So basically you camber the walls to make sure they're leaning in. So once the wall's poured, push them back out to the string line and you're good to go. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. But the other question I had from some people was about penetrations and sleeves, so on and so forth. This is the sewer sleeve going out. This is a pretty easy one to see here. I mean, it's just as simple as cutting a hole in the wall, making sure you got pitch on it, shoving it on through. When we pour the concrete, we'll make sure we get that vibrator tamp so it goes around there real good. Looks like we got some ants trying to take up residency here. But that's pretty much it. Beam pockets are in. This basement didn't have any common splices. Everything's stacked out. The architect liked us. So I'm going to finish walking on around here and making sure we're good to go, but I think it's about time for concrete. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll catch you on the next one.